Hi, I'm Aaron Robles with Innovative Physical Therapy. I get a lot of questions about posture and what exercises I can do to help with posture. So we thought we'd do a couple videos on posture. So fortunately for us, and unfortunately for Christian here, he has a posture that needs correcting. So we're going to use him to show you what kind of exercises you can do at home to help with your posture. So Christian, we're going to show us his posture. Can you turn to your side a little bit? You can see his posture here. He has a big curve in his low back. We call that lordosis. And up here in his thoracic spine, he curves back out with a kyphosis, forcing his neck to go in this way, rounding his shoulders, and his head is forward. And that's a forward head posture from the shoulders and up, a rounded shoulder posture, which we will address in the next video, and you'll see what exercise we can do for that. But for today, we're gonna address his low back and low posture. What happens with this posture, if he stays like this, you can see I'm gonna put pressure down on his posture in this position, and I'm going to test his spine and how it could accept loads. So if I push straight down on his back, you could see how his belly goes forward. So this is where, because of this bend here in his spine, he's taking a lot of pressure. And you can see here, I'm not putting a lot of pressure down on his shoulders, and this is where he gives. So he has to work a lot at holding his back up just standing there. So in the future, as he gets older, this is where a lot of degeneration comes from, to his facets, his joints in his back, and his discs as well. So what happens too with this posture, you can see where he has to lock his knees back here, and you could have knee issues as well down in this nation. So this is here. What happens with this, to hold this posture, his pelvis is tilted forward. And what happens, right, you can see his angle of his waistband is this way from that posture. We call that an anterior pelvic tilt. So what we need is to get this backwards here, and this is where so he can take pressure off, get the curve out of his spine in doing that. What happens though, when he's in this posture, you can see where his hip flexors from his quads and his hip flexor in his spine get tightened. So when he pulls his pelvis forward, it pulls his back forward as well. Let me show you on the spine, okay? So here's the spine. Here is the front of your spine. This is where the hip flexors we're talking about that come from the spine. You can see how it attaches to his lumbar spine. So when you have that forward tilt, it pulls this muscle, because it's tight, the muscle will then pull his back into that arch. You can see what Christian has. And you can see how much, if he maintains this arch, how much stress on the joints and his spine and his discs he could have through that, okay? So that's what we have to do. We have to get him straightened up a little bit, get him down. So we have to address these issues that's happening in his body in order for him to stay this way. Because I could put him there, but because of the muscle imbalance he has, there's tightness here in his hip flexors and the front of his thigh, and then his hamstrings get tight too because he's pulling, as you can see, the hamstrings attached to the bottom of his pelvis. If his bottom sits out like this, it really pulls on the hamstring down here, pulling his knee backwards. That's why a lot of people have knee, we call it rectum bottom, where you bend backwards a little bit, putting stress on the knee joint as well. So you can see how it affects multiple parts of the body and how unhealthy it can be and how it can contribute to other issues in your body. So we need to address this, and especially for Christian, we need to address this quickly. Okay? So let me show you a couple exercises. Okay, so the first exercise we want to do, we want to stretch out the hip flexors, because what we just saw on the skeleton, this is what's arching his back and pulling his pelvis forward. Okay? So you can see what happens when he does this position. I'm going to have him do a leg swing this leg forward and backwards. When he swings back, you can see he stops here at his hip. So the motion to keep going backwards is his back. You see how it has to arch his back in order to kick backwards. So he's not using his glutes like he needs to. He's using his back to get that motion of his legs. So when he runs, walks, he's putting more stress on his back. He doesn't even have to lift or carry anything heavy to do so. Okay, you can stop. So what we want to do is stretch that out and stretch his his quads out, so he allows him more motion to go backwards without having to use his back. Okay, so we're going to use his chair here. So we're going to put him on a chair. So what he's going to do is going to put his knee on his chair. What I like him to do now is tuck his tailbone under. Very good. This is going to keep his back flat. When he keeps his back flat, then I'm going to have him lean forward, pull his hips forward, try and keep the hip back. So now he's going to stretch his quads and his part of his hip flexors in his quads and the part of hip flexors in his trunk. And that's what through there. Can you feel that stretch in the front there?
Yeah.
So he's going to stretch that. What we want to do is going to hold that for at least 20 seconds. When you do that several times. And when you feel a stretch, when you feel tightness, then you know you're hitting the right areas. And that's where you should feel it on the front of your legs and in the front of your spine there. Okay? To add a little extra stretch to his quads, he can bend this knee up like that. Can you feel more stretch? And see how it actually pulls him tighter. And what he can do himself, he could use his hand and pull that up, but he has to make sure he keeps that tailbone tucked under. Oh, that's hard for him to do because he is so tight. So here's an exercise he can really do. He's getting better at it. He's working hard though. Okay, so that's the first exercise. Okay, a follow-up exercise for his hip flexors and his quads and his front of his thigh is, we call this the Thomas stretch. He's going to lay on a bed, at the edge of the bed. He's going to hug one knee. What this does is protect his back, make sure his back's flat against the table because we don't want that arching. And he lets this hang. You can see how Christian's leg is here. So his knee should drop below the table. That's his hip flexor, his flexibility. And his leg, see how straight it is? That's his quad flexibility. So what actually should happen if he should be down here like this. Oh, I can squeeze him in. You feel how tight that is right there? He's really tight in there. I let go, he just pops straight out there. Okay? So what the idea is, we want to just have that here, hold this down. So we want this knee to go down below. So what I'm going to do is going to help him out a little bit. I'm going to protect his spine, keep his leg there. Since I'm here, I'm going to stretch a little bit. I'll show you how if I keep him here, he actually has the motion to go below the table. So he can do it through his joints, but his muscles can't do it there. And I could do this and now make it even worse. I could pull this in. See, this is, now I could feel really tight his quads and hip flexors are. Okay? This is what's keeping him from going backwards. So he runs, and as a runner, he is pushing off with these legs through his back and not his glutes and his legs. So he's actually stressing his back instead of strengthening his body with running. Okay, I held out for a little bit, and you can see how his knee goes down a little bit more. So now it's not totally below the table, but it's better. So what he would do at home is lay down his bed, hang this off, let this hang like this, and again, you want to do it at least for 20 seconds or so. And you want to do this about 3 to 5 times. Now you bring both things up first, switch knees, hug that knee, and he's going to drop this other leg down. Let's compare this leg. This leg, he actually bends a little bit more, so his quads aren't as tight in here, but his knee isn't down as far as it needs it to. But what you don't see here, his leg's going out to the side, to the left, so he has some hip adductors, the muscle on his side tightness. If I pull it along his spine, this is what happens. Now his knee straightens out some more. You can see when he comes out here, his knee bends, so he is compensating for that by pulling his leg out here instead of having that stretch. So this is definitely a stretch that he needs to do as well. For the next exercise, we want to stretch out his low back. So we call this a double knee to chest, as you can obviously see why we call it that. He's going to pull his knees up to his chest, picking up his tailbone up toward his chest. That's what he really needs, and that's where he needs to hold that there. And he needs to hold it there for a good 10 to 20 seconds, and then he could drop it down and then try to pull it up again a little bit more. Kind of like he's rolling up a rug. He has to feel that tailbone come up. When he's up there, he can also rock a little bit. Rock your knees back and forth here. But really stretch that low back out. You feel how tight that is there? This is an exercise he could do anytime, anywhere. Stretch that out. Okay? Very good. Now we're going to do some strengthening exercises to get that imbalance of muscles that are not working. As you see, remember when Christian was doing his leg swing, he really wasn't going backwards very far. And that's where your glutes is supposed to do, is bring it back there. So his glutes are pretty weak and is not able to get that back. But now we got some stretching out of his hips and his legs, he could actually get it back there. Now we need some strength in those glutes to really push backwards some more so he keeps that range of motion. One easy exercise to do is called what we call bridging. So what I want him to do, I want him to flatten his back, tuck the tailbone on a little bit. Now I want him to squeeze his glutes and lift his bottom up off the table. Very good, nice and high. Squeeze those cheeks and then come back down again. And do it again. Squeeze those cheeks. What he's doing is really squeezing his cheeks to lift his bottom up. Otherwise, you'll have to do it from his back, and that's what we don't want because his back is already overworking, as we saw in the beginning of this video, because of his posture. And you want to do this 10 times at least, working up to at least 20 times. And you can do up to 3 sets of 20 of these. Really just squeezing your cheeks. You want to really feel your cheeks squeeze to lift yourself up here. This is a good exercise to get those cheeks working and motor control, showing your body is supposed to use your legs and not your back. The next muscle group we want to really strengthen is his lower abdominals, because when you have that anterior tilt, it stretches out these muscles here. So he needs to get that lower abdominal stronger so he can help maintain his pelvis backwards and not forwards, or else it'll just keep going back forward again. Because of the tightness here and the weakness here is where he sits in his anterior tilt. So we want to strengthen here, stretch here to keep his tilt back this way. Okay, so one exercise, he can lean against a bed or a table and just bring his knees up to his chest and come back down again. This is an exercise you could do one leg at a time if this is too hard for you, or you get 2 legs like he's doing here. So the idea is really feel that tailbone pull up when you pull your knees up, okay? There we go. He's shaking a little bit. That's shaking those muscles he's working that you can see can't fully activate yet. So if you have shaking when you do the exercise, that means those muscles are telling you, I haven't done this in a while. So that's nothing to be afraid of or scared about. It's just the body's telling you, I don't know how to work right. And the more you do it, the less shaking you'll have and the stronger you'll get once you get working. Again, you want to work up to 10 to 20 of these, and you could do up to 3 sets of 20, okay? Okay, another lower abdominal strengthening exercise we're going to do is have him start in this position, hips and knees about 90 degrees. And all he's going to do is, this is his starting position, he's just going to lift his tailbone up and pull his knees to his chest and let it back down to about 90 and come back up again. This is all he's going to do. And pull that up. Again, emphasizing trying to lift that tailbone up so he's working the lower abdominals. He's going to do about, see, shaking there. This is a weak spot on him. And obviously, because of his posture, he really needs this. That's why we're doing it for him. You want to work up to 20 times, 3 sets of 20 to do this exercise. You do this at your own pace. Okay. And once you get this down, and you want something really more advanced, because this is a young, strong, strapping young man, we're going to make this harder. Okay, so grab the table above your head. What I want him to do when he advances, he could advance this to get his legs up straight and just lift his feet up toward the ceiling, lifting his tailbone up. Okay, I'm going to help him to start with. All right, lift up. And he's going to lower himself back down like he's unrolling the rug. Roll it back down. There you go. Now he's going to lift it back up again. There, now he's got it. So that's what he's going to do. This is where you lift up. This is a more advanced exercise. And roll back down. But what you want to do is avoid trying to kick that way, if you can, and try to just go straight up and down. That's better. Now he's going straight up and down here. There he goes. See how he just kept straight up and down? When you could do that, that is working his lower abdominals. See, he's working hard. Breathe. We like breathing. Very good. He's working hard on those lower abdominals. Again, you want to work up to 3 sets of 20 if you could do it. This is a more advanced lower abdominal strengthening exercise. Okay, now we've got Christian to do a couple exercises to address the weaknesses and imbalances he gets at his pelvis because of his anterior tilt. So you can see now he can stand straighter. He doesn't have as much curve. with his back and his and spine. So now it's more in alignment. So I'm going to test the alignment. You remember how we did it the first time. I didn't need a lot of pressure, so it will show you how much stress he's done in his low back. Now I'm going to get up on top of the stool and really put a little bit more pressure and see what he could take. So I'm going to come up. I'm going to try to get nice and close because I want to go straight down. And now when I'm pushing twice as much weight as I did before, and he's still not giving. So what I want to feel the floor. You feel that? I could push really hard, and he's not giving like he used to. So now his back is safer now after doing these exercises because he's more in alignment and taking the risk of having more of degeneration going on in his back as he grows older. So I hope these exercises helped. If you have any questions, please let me know.